Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for GWBC Radio's Open for Business. Now, here's your host.
Lee Cantor here, broadcasting live from the GWBC Power of Partnering event at Georgia Power headquarters. So excited to be talking to my guest right now, Tammy Cohen with InfoMart.
Hi.
Hey, it's been a hot minute, but I hear you got some big news.
It has. Besides, this has been an exciting event for all of us, learning a lot, getting Georgia Power to present and give us tips on how to get into business with them. But InfoMart is 35 years old this month.
Congratulations. 35 years is an amazing achievement. Any tips for our other entrepreneurs out there on how to have a business make it for 35 years?
You have to hire a good team. You have to have good people support you, and you can go as long as you want to go, as long as you have that team behind you.
So for the few people out there who aren't aware, can you share a little bit about InfoMart? How you serving folks?
Yeah, so InfoMart is a global background screening company, and we do the background checks on candidates, and that's the criminal and driving type of records. But we also screen suppliers and volunteers, all types of different people. Anybody that you're going to have in your business or in your systems, you want to mitigate that risk with a background check.
So how has the business evolved? Because 35 years ago, there wasn't an internet. There wasn't a lot of things that we take for granted today.
So, Lee, you're showing your age in that fact that you knew that to ask that question. So, yes, when we started, it was all fax machines.
Fax machine.
Yeah, we had one computer. Our database was index cards. In the day, and it was in the early days. They came out with voicemail where you could just leave a message of you could push a button, yes or no. So we were able to, we were very innovative with the technology. But yes, a long way.
So what is it like today for your clients? Like, how are you doing a background check today that kind of can be as fast as it has to be, but as effective as it has to be as well?
It has changed a great deal in the speed of time and how fast it is to get a background check. As you can imagine, it used to be anywhere from 3 to 5 days. Now you're looking at under 1 day to get a good background check done. What's really interesting about our industry in that it hasn't had a lot of changes in that you submit the information, we go out and procure that data, and then we distribute it back to the customer. Now, compliance has really changed. So that's put a lot of layers in that InfoMart takes care of for our customers. But one of the things that InfoMart is innovating, which is really exciting, is the career wallet. And that's where you as the candidate or the supplier will basically now have your data in a wallet that you can share with me. And when you share that data, some of it I don't have to go do a background check and the employer doesn't have to pay for because you already shared it with me.
Because that is vetted information that's kind of blessed so that this is real and that's good enough for everybody involved?
Yes.
And that's a new development?
Yes, believe it or not, it is. No one in our industry has done this, and I've been actually working on this a long time, but I've have now some of my competitors that are going to work with me because we look at this as a whole industry-wide change that needs to happen.
But it was proprietary to InfoMart?
Yes, career wallet, trademarked and everything.
Yeah. So when you developed this idea, then you had to create kind of a marketplace for it, right? You needed the corporates to say, okay, I'll accept that because if InfoMart said they vetted it, then that's good enough for me. So that 35 years helped that go along, right?
Oh, definitely. And when I first came up with the idea, the technology wasn't out there. You couldn't do a mobile wallet. You couldn't even do a web wallet. Basically, it's been going on for years because it came out about with your credit report, right? So we're doing credit reports for employers. And it was like, gosh, I really wish the candidate could own their own information and share it with me. That way we don't make a mistake and the employer doesn't get a mistake.
Right.
And so the technology first had to come along and keep figuring that out
because it can't be alterable, right? Like it can't. It has to be kind of locked down and saying this is the facts as it is at this moment in time.
Right. And there's only certain data you can do that, like in education. So criminal history, you can't. It's not
Right.
static. But in employment verification, you can certainly do that. But now what's so great is that employers are looking at skills. So as much as, your verification is important, how long you worked at a certain place, what you learn and what you know is far more valuable to the employer.
Are employers being more flexible in their thinking when it comes to, they have to have a degree, or are they looking at some of these certifications that maybe I can get through some of these organizations when it comes to cybersecurity or for digital learning or those kind of things where it shows that I have competency in these areas, and they're saying it, but it's not an official, kind of college degree. Are those becoming acceptable?
Absolutely. And you use the exact word, competency. A lot of people don't realize that, but that's what employers are looking for. What is your competencies? And that could be a skill, that could be, where you worked, but all these different levels of education and certifications and experience, even volunteer work, means a lot to the employers when they're making these selections.
So if you're working with somebody and you are verifying their employment, are you going to that individual that you're verifying and saying, I can put all your stuff in this wallet that, hey, you can take with you and you don't have to do this step anymore?
Exactly. After we do the background check, we basically ask the candidate if they want to open a wallet and have all that data in their wallet. And most of them say yes. And if they don't, the employer then can ask them after they get the background check, would you like to have this data? Mm-hmm. Because on the other end, what makes this really great is that the employers have a module where they can add other competencies into it. And it's also in that wallet.
Right.
So when the candidate leaves, there's certain information that the employer can let them have because they paid for, say, the education.
Right.
But then there's other things they might have got at another, part-time job or Uber or volunteer that stays in the wallet.
Right. And that way the candidate is ready for the next one, and then it's more value for the next person to verify because, the bulk of it's already been verified.
And it leaves money in the budget for employers to do more of the criminal history, more in depth, because
right.
cybersecurity is huge. And then just sanction searches on people so you can see who is not allowed to work in the medical industry. I mean, there's all kinds of searches like that employers don't do because they're looking at budget.
Right.
So it sort of helps in that regard.
And then so you're helping them kind of prioritize really what is most important, and they don't have to pay as much for the things that are more, static and they're not really changing, but the things that could be changing, minute by minute are getting checked.
Yes. It makes it very robust. The background check is going to become more and more robust as the years go on and the adoption happens. And it's exciting because I think there's a lot of other things that can happen inside this wallet as far as education and QR codes and
right.
seminars.
Now, for you, and this is why it's so important, I think, to partner with experts like you. You're thinking about this 24/7, and you're really trying to kind of get in the weeds of any opportunity and anything that has to do with it, where your clients aren't. This is one thing that's on a checklist of a lot of things that they got to pay attention to, and they're not spending as much time and energy on this specific challenge that you are, and that's why InfoMart's so important to the marketplace.
It really is. And my title is Chief Visionary Officer. I had hired, I'd always had a CEO because we're in security, and I got where I was like, I want a title with a C in it too. So I went to my team and all like, will you give me a title? And so they came back and they're like Chief Visionary Officer, because that is what I've done, is really looked at the future of and it's not just what the employers need, but what candidates need and
right.
what us as consumers, think of how much aggravation we've eliminated with like LifeLock.
Right.
That's what you're sort of doing with your background check, because courts make mistakes all the time. They'll send you a record on somebody and it's not them, and it gets sent to the employer.
Right. It could be a typo. There's like a million places it could go wrong.
Absolutely. Especially in the courts. Courts only use your name and a date of birth. And many times it's what you told them. And I'm going to tell you what, criminals usually don't use the correct information.
Right. You know, believe it or not, they might not be telling the truth.
Exactly.
Shockingly. So if somebody wants to learn more, have a more substantive conversation with you or somebody on the team, what's the website? Where should they go?
Backgroundscreening.com.
And then before we wrap, why is it important for your firm to be part of GWBC?
Wow. I have about 5 of my team members here just to meet other women business owners, because people don't realize, we're women business owners, and yes, we're involved because we want to do business with the supplier diversity people here, the Georgia Power, the Emory University. But there is just as much value in doing business with other women. So that's been my focus today is getting my team spread out through all these women business enterprises.
Yeah, that's great advice. Don't neglect the network, because your network is where the power is, really, ultimately, because relationships matter.
Well said.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. You're doing such important work, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, this is Lee Cantor. We'll be back at GWBC Power, our partnering event.